Cool, cool. Okay, let's move on. Okay, the year is 96 now. And again, music is changing again. 96, late 95 seems to be the birth around that time of what we call neo soul.
Right.
D'Angelo, Erykah Badu, the Roots are starting to gain a little steam. A few other artists on the neo soul side are starting to gain a little steam, and we have the birth of Kadar.
Right.
In that label. Tell us a little bit about the Kadar situation and how that came about.
Well, around I'd say late '95, we had started to develop. I was starting to develop a new group, which was to become Deja Groove, and the original format of the group was to be two guys and one girl. So we had went into the studio with another producer who was involved in the project at the time, Tony Prendat of Ill Al Scratch fame, and started working on the material. Produced 4 songs, started to shop it out, and the response was great. We couldn't even believe the kind of response we received within the first week of just circulating the tape. And within that first week, we already had like 3 deals on the table. We had one with Def Squad, which was Eric Sermon's label, and the second was Atlantic, was also interested. And the third that came in was Kadar. And Kadar had heard the material in one shot and made the decision right offhand that, he definitely wanted to sign us. He had already signed Erykah Badu and A+ to his label at the time, and he was looking for the last act, and he figured that we was going to be the perfect round off to the solicitation of the label. And we sat down with our attorneys, talked over, a number of different things, and at the end result, we felt that the Kadar situation would work best for us, since it was a new label that was based on a soul basis in the music that they were trying to represent, as well as it was a new forming of the MCA company with the Universal moniker in place. So we went with them, and that's where that started.
Now, did D'Angelo have his album out at the time, or?
Yeah, Brown Sugar was already out. It was extremely successful. He had already won Grammys at the point that we had came into the fold.
Okay.
And, Kadar was now moving on from being just a management situation with the D'Angelo project onto a label situation and an A&R for Universal.
Now, how far were you guys on the Deja Groove album when you got to Kadar? Did Erykah Badu have her album already done, or?
No, everybody was still very much in a birthing process. We all were in the studio all at one time. We were mainly in Battery Studios in New York City, and Erykah would be taking one room and we would take another, and A+ was bouncing in between one of the other rooms. So we kept that studio busy for quite a couple of months.
You have some classic joints on the Erykah Badu album, which I think
Thank you. Great.
is a classic. You did Apple Tree and 4-Leaf Clover, I believe, on that
Correct.
record. Were you in a exclusive agreement with Kadar to just produce Kadar artists, or were you able to branch out? Like, I see the neo soul sound was branching out at that time, and you having songs on this record, I know you were kind of maybe in demand at that time with other neo soul artists who say, who produced these songs on this Erykah Badu record. Were you able to branch out and do other artists, or were you exclusive to producing Kadar artists at that time?
Well, I wasn't exclusive to producing Kadar artists, although because I was part of the family, when I presented a track that was of interest or anything like that, of course, the Kadar family got first dibs.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I was able to circulate. I was still able to circulate myself around. Just at that time, though, because everything was so intertwined. We were working on our project as well as I was working on Erykah's project, finishing up stuff on A+'s project as well, that I mainly stayed within the Universal system. So a lot of the other stuff that may have come out in that time period or shortly afterward, you'll find was all tied into the whole Universal system, like the Tracey Lee and Notorious B.I.G song on Tracey Lee's album, Keep Your Hands High, as well as Lost Boys with the Soul Love joint, which actually has Deja on the backgrounds on there, and a couple of other songs that were funneled through at that time were all coming from that specific area, the Universal system itself, more than just a Kedar thing. But it was all based on the knowledge and relativity that, you know, I was in the system, so I was using the system to my best knowledge.
Okay, after the Erykah Badu record, obviously and during that time you started working on the Deja Groove album and completing that. What happened with that record? It seemed, I remember you telling me, and on the board, that the record leaked overseas and it never really came out over here.
Right. Well, at the time when Deja was supposed to drop, it was around the same time that Erykah's album was being prepared to be released, and you know, it was common knowledge and understanding that Erykah was the premier artist that was to come out on the Kedar Entertainment label, and then everything else would follow afterward. He had did a precursor to Erykah with releasing the A Plus project, but she was to be next in line. And at the same time when Erykah's first single On and On, which I vocally produced, was being released, he had leaked that video to BET as well as various different radio stations, and it was well received at the time, but because the attention needed to go to Erykah at the time, our project had been pulled back just a little bit, and that was fine, you know, but over time things just didn't seem to work out well, and we were kind of like on the shelf, and we opted to be released from the label. Unfortunately, where that meant that the project never got the chance to see the light of day and been released. But by that time, people had already gotten knowledge of the group, and apparently some people got access to the material. So that's kind of what happened there.
That Deja Groove is a great record, man, a great album.
Greatly appreciate it. Appreciate it. It's a labor of love on that album.
If you guys don't know it, or the people that haven't heard it, it was a great album, and the guest appearances on that album, Rakim, Emile LaRue, Chico DeBarge, Mr. Cheeks, Lost Boys.
Yeah, we kind of pulled out all the stops.
Faith Evans.
We kind of pulled out all the stops on that one. Like a lot of the things that was cool about the album with the guest appearances was either it was through everybody's relationships with one another. Like, you know, Kedar had a long-standing relationship with Rakim, so he was able to call Rakim in, as well as there was already interest in signing Rakim at Universal at the time. So that kind of worked out well to get him involved into the project. Faith got involved into the project through my relationship. Mel got involved into the project also through, you know, my relationship that I had with her through the Groove Theory project, working with Bryce. And Mr. Cheeks got involved in our project because he was also in the Universal system, and I was getting ready to start producing one of their songs for their second album. So, you know, things just kind of worked out well where, you know, we were able to get these star performances and these star features for us being a brand new group that nobody ever heard, you know, all on one album. So it was a cool experience.
Right. I love the songs on that album, man.
Thank you.
Love the songs on that album.